All right, hello once again, Jeff Scott of Rankin Technical College, and as mentioned in this series of videos, I'm doing a video for a mythical gym called Jacked and Jilled, and I'm doing it as part of the AWD or Application Web Development, Website Development program here at Rankin to show how to create a website from beginning to end. And as mentioned in the last video, I currently have this that's got an index page and it's got an about page. But it is not, right now when you start looking at it, it is not at all responsive. So again, when I come through here and I do this, notice how it looks. Just, you know, that doesn't look real bad, but this looks bad. Notice my logo, where is it? I don't know, etc. So I want to fix that. So I'm going to start with these two files, and I'm going to just do them one at a time, and I'm going to have to make some changes. Then when I get into my CSS, I'm going to have to make changes to my style.css file, and right now my mobile file has got, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to grab everything that's in there and remove it. All right, so now my mobile file, and we'll go over what this means in a future lecture. All right, so we've got that. So I'm starting, like I said, I'm starting with, in fact, let me close that because I am going to be working with Visual Studio Code. So, as always, let me start up Visual Studio Code. This is that. All right. I don't have anything. Anything I have open, I want to close. So, close folder. Do I want to save? I'm going to say don't save. Okay. So I have nothing open right now. So I'm going to close my welcome, and I'm going to do a file, open folder. From my desktop, I'm going to find, I just call this Gym Fix. All right, so I'm going to open up this Jack and Jill original. In fact, just to be sure, let's copy it. Copy. Paste. All right, and I'm going to change it so I've got Jack and Jill original and Jack and Jill fixed, which is not a good word, but that's the one I'm going to use anyway. So here's my fixed. Select folder. It is now open in Visual Studio Code. There it is. All right, again, I don't need my welcome. And I'm going to start by just opening up the index file. Nothing else. All right, I'm going to take this and shove it way down. So hopefully I can keep a lot of this stuff. We haven't changed anything in here. I'm not going to go over this. If you have any questions about what's in here on these first several lines, all right, all the stuff that's in here, I would strongly suggest that you watch the earlier lectures. All right. So I'm going to just jump down probably a good third of the way into this where I am right now, quarter to a third, and start looking at the stuff that I've got here. Body, header, ID equal main header. I do want to mention two things. First, the difference between an ID and a class. You can Google this and find maybe a better explanation than the one I'm going to give you, but what I want to tell you is the main difference between these is if you have something that you want to be able to at least possibly use several times on a page, you make it a class. All right? And if you want to, if you only want to use it once on a page, you make it an ID. All right? Now, saying that, It's a generalization, but it pretty much holds true. All right? And I'm looking in here. This is my home page. I've got that active class. That's what I wanted. All right? And to be honest with you, I believe that everything, let me clean this up, in here is all fine. All right? I've got my logo, etc. I've got my tagline. So I started in here. Okay? There's my, let's see. Again, I want to make sure that I'm setting this up the same way that I set it up before. All right? I did change this around a bit. Okay? So let's start making the changes. In fact, I don't really want exactly to do this, but what I am going to do, I'll keep that a main header. I'm going to grab everything that's in here, and I'm just going to rewrite it. All right? I'm not going to run this because if I did right now, it would look quite a bit different. All right? Now, I want to make a navigation area. So you'll notice if I do come in here and type in nav and hit enter, it creates the tags for me. Probably already knew that, and that's fine. But what I want to do is I want to do nav and I want to do nav, and after the nav, I want to put in a period, nav bar, and hit tab. So notice what that did. That created a nav for me, and it's got a div inside of it with a class of nav bar. It's not exactly what I wanted, so let's try this. Nav pound sign nav bar. That's what I wanted. A nav area with an ID of nav bar. All right? So I am going to want to manipulate this programmatically. I may want to center. I may want to do some other things with it. So I'm going to put this inside of a div, and that div will have a class of container. Now, if I can put in div, but I don't even have to. If I put in dot container and I hit tab, notice what it does for me. All right, when you start with a dot or you start with a pound sign, it thinks you want a div, which is what I wanted. So there's my container class, and in there, I'm going to have another div, and it's going to have an ID or a pound sign of logo. So there's my div ID equal logo, just showing you some of the shortcuts you can use if you want to. So href equals index.html. This is very similar to what I did before. All right, and inside of there, I'm going to put in an image. All right, so there's my logo, and in fact, I should move this. There we go. And in here, I'm going to have my image. All right, my source. In fact, I think I can do this too. I can say, is it just IMG? There we go. So that gives me my source and my alt. All right, so my source is going to be images / and the image that I want is my logo. All right, my alt, I'll make that logo as well. Remember, the alt is used for a couple different purposes. One of those purposes being that if for some reason I gave the wrong path here, the file didn't exist or whatever, it'll then show this. It'll also say that for people who are site deficient and they need to use a machine that talks to them. So it will tell them this, logo. So I'm putting in here also the fact that this has a width of 100 and it has a height of 100. All right. And remember that when we look at this, this is going to look really, really bad. Just so you know that. All right? In fact, I'm going to try to show it to you as we go on. So let's open it up with Live Server. Okay, that's all we did. Now this stuff isn't going to look bad, but what I mean is up here, because we've done nothing as far as really working with the CSS with the new stuff we're putting in here. All right, so I'm still in my nav area, and inside of my nav, all right, inside of my nav here, and inside of my container, I'm outside of the logo area, but I'm still inside of my container. I'm going to put in an unordered list. Now, again, I can put in here just, UL, hit tab, boom, puts in the unordered list. I'm going to want to have 4 different things in here, so I can put in LI times 4. Hit tab, and I've got my LIs. Again, these are just some of the shortcuts that you can use with Visual Studio Code. Not that you have to. All right, so putting this in here, my first LI, this will be a href equals, I don't want to go anywhere, so just a £. I'm going to put a class in here. Whoops. I'm going to put a class in here that's called, I don't know what it's doing, a class that's set equal to active, meaning that's going to be the one that is active right now. I want to put the word home in here. Okay. So this is my first link. All right. I'm just going to copy this. There's stuff in there I don't need, but that's fine. In fact, let's do this. There, that looks a little nicer. All right. This second one will be going to my About page, about.html. All right. It will not have the active class on there, and it will say About. The third one will look very similar to this second one. In fact, I'm just going to grab all of this and copy it. And this one, instead of about, we'll say contact. Okay? And I'm going to assume right now there's no contact page here, so I'm just going to put a £. All right? And the last one that I have, copy this in again. This last one, I can do that too, there we go, will be for my, in fact the third one was contact, this one is going to be called BMI. And again, this last one is going to be called contact. Now I believe I'm done with that area. So let's do a file, save all, and let's open this up once again in our live server. All right, and boy, that doesn't look too good, does it? So I'm missing something. That's okay. It's going to be fixed eventually. All right, but that looks a little funky. All right, I think it's because of the old CSS that I have in there. Again, I'm not worried about it in the least. So here are my links, my home link, my about link, BMI, and contact. So that's all done. All right. Now I want to come in here and hopefully I can save a lot of the stuff that is in here. Again, I'm going to take and add a new div in here with an ID of container. Anytime that you're using stuff that you might want to end up centering, you'll typically stick it into a container. So I've got all of this. Let me tab it over once. All right. So now I've got my container div. Okay. And in here I've got, in fact, trying to keep this looking the way that mine looks. So I don't have an ID in here anymore of main. Rather, what I've done, do a little sleight of hand here for you. Get rid of that. Let's move all this stuff over. All right, and then finally, I want to reverse these two. So I want this one to be join, and I want this one to be container. All right, then I've got my enroll today paragraph. Month 1 is free. And my second paragraph, which says it's just $10 a month thereafter. Don't have to change anything. How about the form? ID of join form, email, email, email. Enter your email here. Submit, 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 submit. That looks good. And my form and my div for my container and my div for my join. Looks good. Not going to touch that. All right, that jumps me down to my testimonials. In fact, no, it doesn't. I'm going to need my background image next, and I don't know if that's not in here or what, but that's okay. Div ID equals bg-image for background image. Let's make another div with an ID of container. So again, with a class, container should have really been a class because I'm using it more than once. So let's look at every place I've got ID equal container, and let's change it to class equal container. All right. So I've got here div. So I'm just going to put in here dot container. All right. So there's my div. Class equal container. Not sure why, but I put a BR tag there. Time to get jacked or jilled. All right. That's all that's in there for that background image. Okay. Then we come in here and we've got our testimonial index. Now these are not going to be centered, so I don't need a container div. All right. So testimonials index, what our clientele are saying, div class of box, Harrison, okay, div class of box, Gary Johnson, div class of box, Mike Jones. Looks good to me. All right, so I have made the changes to this page. Do another save all, and I'm going to open up once again in live server. This, of course, will have to be fixed. This looks, well, look at it. Okay, and you're like, well, yeah, you just took whatever you had and you screwed it all up. Yeah. So the next thing I'm going to do in the next lecture is I'm going to add the CSS. I think this has been long enough. Oops. This has been 20 minutes. So I'm going to add the CSS for this one in the next installment. Then come back and redo the next page, all right, which will be our about page. And then again, come in and do the installment for the CSS for that one. That should get us, hopefully, to the point where we can add our mobile stuff. All right, so I'll see you soon.